Hello and welcome, Scottie fans. You'll probably know that a lot of people are trying to learn new skills at the moment, certainly during lockdown. A bit of knitting, maybe a bit of cooking, things like that come to mind. But what about hand stripping a Scottish Terrier? Well, we've got somebody here today who's going to tell us all about that. So let me introduce you to Barbara. Hello, Barbara.
Hello, everybody.
Now, tell us, first of all, you're a professional hand stripper. How long have you been doing that?
Well, it's basically because I have a show dog, or I had show dogs, so obviously they have to be in show coat. So I'm continuously working on my dogs, as well as I help other people to try and train them how to do a hand strip, because the hand strip is far better for the dog. And like this one, you can see he's got a lovely coat, very strong, whereas when you do clipping it can go very soft. But also as he is a unneutered dog, which also helps the coat, but makes it lovely and bristly. 2 coats, top coat to keep him dry, the undercoat underneath is to keep him nice and warm, which is with hand stripping. This always stays in place, where when you clip, obviously the whole lot comes off, and they don't have the benefit of having, which is what they're supposed to have, is the 2 coats. Obviously it is a lot to learn to keep them all in, but it's much more beneficial for your Scottie, because that's what they're supposed to be. It's what they're meant to be. They are basically a working dog, so they do need that protection. It's the same with eyebrows. Eyebrows are there for a purpose, which initially was always to protect the eyes when they go in the undergrowth, because they'll go down burrows and
they're ratters, weren't they? They were trained as ratters to go after vermin. Yeah. And
badgers. They can get a badger. I mean, they've got the same. Their jaw is the same strength as an Alsatian, so they're very, very strong.
And you know your Scottish Terriers because you've had them since childhood, isn't that right?
I've had them since I was 6 months old. So they've always been in my life.
From before you can remember.
Exactly. So, and I've had very good mentors to teach me how to do the coat, so I like to try and pass on what I do, I've learned.
Show us the tools then, and just demonstrate what a hand strip actually involves. And we should remind everybody that this is perfectly safe to do and is not cruel to the dog. In fact, it is to be positively encouraged with this particular breed. It's not obviously for every dog. Different breeds have different needs. Scottish Terriers definitely benefit from hand stripping. Barbara, over to you.
Right. There's several tools. Basically, these are quite commercial, quite easily to buy. I mean, the teeth that's much wider. You've got that one, and then you have a good comb, and obviously you have good sharp scissors to trim the edge of the ears. Clippers you need to do the head and the chest. That's
okay. So if we look at the clipper, there it is. That's the clipper.
That's the only part that gets clipped, and some people, they do the rear end. They just buy the tail, but I don't. I do my scissors rather than that.
Okay.
Also, the other way to do is the finger and thumb, which is you lift the coat and then you pull out the dead hair. The head that comes out. None of this hurts the dog, because you're holding the dog's skin and you're just basically taking out all the dead hair. And the finger and thumb, or say you can use the tools, is for the whole of the body. So it does take a time. I mean, on average, you're looking at taking about 2-3 hours. But if you have a show coat, well, obviously you're working on your dog every week. So obviously, it only takes you maybe half an hour to an hour. But obviously, if you leave your coats too long, that's when the work is. It takes a few hours to do. So that's why it's beneficial also to brush your dog regularly, which is good for the skin and good for the coat.
So what you're saying is with hand stripping, it's good to keep it trim and keep done regularly.
Yeah,
keep
it's
on top
what
of
you call you rolling the coat. I mean, my dog, one week I will do his head and front and that, and then the following week I do his body, and that's to keep him in his show coat. Otherwise, once they go out, it does take quite a while to get them back in again. So. And
finally, if people want to do this at home, you've shown some of the tools that we need, the clippers, but also more importantly, also the brushes, the combs. What about this table here with this contraption here? Is this something that you think people should invest in getting, a table like this?
Well, this making the dog feel a little bit more secure, because once you start working on them, they can get quite fidgety, and obviously you don't want your dog to fall off the table because they could hurt themselves. And usually your trimming tables are at the right height that you need for yourself. I mean, occasionally you'll be able to, you can sit down and do it, because it does take a long time. It does tell on your back if you're not careful, but these are quite a good height, and it makes them feel a little bit more secure, because you don't want them to be rumming around all the time, and it's more difficult for you, and they get to know that they're safe. That's the main thing, really. But if you can't get a table, or you don't want to get a table, ideally you can, or as long as you've got a good rubber mat and you put it onto a surface like maybe a table, or so that they can stand on. It gives them that little area they know that's there as to stand in.
And how much space do they need? Because this table doesn't look all that big, does it? I mean, though some people think you need an even smaller table.
Some people do, but I think it's your own preference, really. I mean, this is they call it a Scottie size table. I mean, you can get them much bigger if you've got an Airedale, which also is hand stripped. But I think if you have it too small, it's your own personal choice. But sometimes if you have them too small, they feel they're going to be jumping. They feel might be falling over the edge. It gives them a good space around them, I think, really. So.
Right. Well, Barbara, thank you very much for speaking to the London Scottie Club.